Imagine living with someone for months, eating in the same room, sleeping a few feet away from them, sharing silence night after night. Now imagine realizing long after it's too late that the person you thought was your roommate may have never existed at all. This isn't a story about fear at first. It's a story about how fear slowly learns your name. The year was 1962 at the University of Damascus dormitories in Syria's capital. A 20-year-old student named Najib had just entered his second year at the Faculty of Commerce. He came from rural Damascus, raised in a quiet household built on discipline, faith, and routine. Najib's father, Professor Abdel Razek, had one plan for his son: study hard, graduate, and return home to take over the family business. Najib was intelligent, focused, and respected at the university. Living in the dorms made sense cheaper, closer to classes, and full of students from different faculties. What Najib didn't expect was that his private room wouldn't actually be private. When he arrived, another student was already there, a law student named Neitzer. From the very first moment, something about Neitzer felt wrong. It wasn't just his silence, though he barely spoke. It wasn't just his clothes, always dark, always outdated, like they belonged to another decade. It was the feeling Najib got when Neitzer was in the room, the sense that the air itself had changed. They didn't attend classes together. They didn't eat together. Every morning, Najib would wake up to find Neitzer already gone, always leaving before the sunrise. At first, Najib told himself he was overthinking it. People are different, he thought. Some students are just quiet. But weeks passed, then months, and Najib began to notice something unsettling. He never once heard Neitzer leave or enter the room. No footsteps, no door creaking. Sometimes Neitzer would simply be there. One afternoon during the semester break, Najib sat alone in the room studying his lectures. Without hearing the door open, he suddenly felt a presence behind him. When he turned around, Neitzer was standing there, staring directly at him. Najib asked when he had arrived. Neitzer didn't answer. He just kept staring, and in that moment, Najib felt fear for the first time. Not panic, not shock, real fear. Najib tried to convince himself that the silence was normal, that Neitzer was just socially awkward, maybe exhausted from law school. But the stare he'd received that afternoon stayed with him long after Neitzer turned away. That night, Najib lay in his bed listening to the quiet hum of the dormitory. The distant sounds of students laughing down the hall slowly faded. Eventually, the building settled into a deep, unnatural silence. Najib was just beginning to drift off when he sensed someone standing near the doorway. He opened his eyes slowly, his heart already racing before he fully understood why. Neitzer was standing there, perfectly still, and behind him, thick black smoke crept along the walls like it was alive. Najib tried to scream, but no sound came out. He tried to move, but his body refused to obey. The clock on the wall ticked once and stopped at 1:30 a.m. Fire began to drip from Neitzer's hands, falling to the floor without burning it. The heat was intense, but the room remained untouched. Najib's vision blurred, and the world went dark. When he woke up, his body was soaked in sweat. The room was empty. The clock still read 1:30 a.m. With shaking hands, Najib stood up and checked the clock himself. It was working perfectly. Yet somehow it had frozen, if only for a few minutes. He called out Neitzer's name. No response. The room was silent. Then, without a sound, the bathroom door opened. Neitzer walked out calmly, as if nothing had happened. Najib looked back at the clock. It now read 1:45 a.m. Najib didn't sleep the rest of that night. He didn't speak to Neitzer the next day either, but one thought refused to leave his mind. Was Neitzer even human? At the university, Najib confided in a fellow student named Amjad. Amjad laughed it off, insisting it was stress or imagination. He told Najib to pray, read Quran, and stop letting superstition take control. Najib wanted to believe him, but fear doesn't disappear just because someone tells you it isn't real. That evening, he returned to the dorm with a knot in his stomach. He barely had time to sit down before the door opened on its own. Neitzer stood in the middle of the room again. This time, his entire body was blackened, his teeth sharp and stained with blood. Flames surrounded him, yet nothing burned. Najib couldn't move like something else had taken control of his body. He repeated to himself that it was a hallucination, that stress could do this, but deep down he knew the truth. His wasn't a dream. This wasn't imagination. Neitzer was standing right there. Suddenly, he vanished. The flames disappeared. The clock froze again at the same cursed time. The next day, Najib ran to Amjad, panic clear in his voice. Amjad tried to calm him, telling him to recite prayers and have his home blessed. But Najib's fear had reached a point of no return. That evening, Najib refused to return to the dorm. He stood outside the building for 2 hours, unable to move. Eventually, fear of being outside outweighed fear of being inside. At around 11 p.m., as Najib studied, he heard crying outside his door. Slow, distorted, unmistakably Neitzer's voice. Najib lowered himself to the floor and looked beneath the door. Neitzer was staring back at him, eye to eye. Najib felt his blood turn to ice. The next morning, Najib begged his father to let him move out. His father refused, dismissing it as weakness. Najib felt trapped. Desperate, he and Amjad went to the Faculty of Law to search for Neitzer's records. There were dozens of students with the same name. Nothing confirmed his Neitzer. That night, Amjad stayed over. At 1 a.m., the crying returned. The room filled with fire, but Neitzer stood untouched at the center. This time, Najib understood. The anger wasn't random. It was directed at him. The next morning, Najib searched Neitzer's side of the room. The space looked ancient, untouched by time. Law books decades old lined the shelves. No ID, no papers. Nothing proving Neitzer had ever existed. Only a photograph hung on the wall. A black strip of tape crossed over the eyes. Then the eyes began to move. They followed Najib. He ran screaming from the room. That night, Amjad saw nothing, no photo, no presence. Najib began questioning his own sanity. But later that night, the photo returned, then vanished again, appearing only for Najib. After exams, Najib fled home. He swore never to return, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. Months later, he asked a janitor about Neitzer. The man spoke of a law student who had died mysteriously years ago, found among his books, with blood but no wounds. Later, Amjad told Najib something impossible. There had never been a janitor named Yuns. Neither Yuns nor Neitzer had ever officially existed. Najib returned one last time. At 1:30 a.m., the bathroom mirror showed Neitzer standing behind him. Then strange writing appeared warning him never to leave. Every event took place within a single frozen minute. Eventually, Najib sought help. Prayers, incense, holy water. For a while, the dorm was silent, until one day Najib saw his own reflection in the frame. A black line crossed his eyes, exactly where Neitzer's had been. Najib never returned to that dorm again. The room was sealed. No one ever stayed there. Years later, Najib was admitted to a psychiatric hospital. He told the story of Neitzer the university djinn. No one believed him, but the room remains locked to this day.